What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast, because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy. And as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to everyone who supports anything we got going on. Special shout out to all of the students from By the Hood University, as well as the youth from the By the Hood Ownership Camp. We appreciate all of the support. My partner in crime, Core, is back with me. What's up, Core? How are you, good brother?
Man, listen, living La Vida Loca, man. Life has been kicking me in the butt, but I ain't never gonna complain about being alive. Never complain about that.
Hey, listen, this is absolutely true, man. And as everyone knows, our podcast is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are putting out positive energy, doing amazing work, doing things in the community. And, we want to make sure that we highlight them and get them to tell their stories. The sister that we have with us here is doing all kinds of stuff. And I want to talk about a lot of the things that she has going on and a lot of things she's already accomplished. She just spoke on a panel with us recently, and we were so impressed with her story. We said, listen, we have to have you on the podcast because your story is amazing. I'm going to let her tell it. I'm not going to tell a story, but without further ado, we have Rachael Hanible on. Rachel, how are you?
I am unstoppable. How are you?
Oh, I love that answer.
Oh, right.
She can right do it, right? Listen,
that was amazing.
Your story is amazing, right? You've paid off over $92,000 in debt. You saved a year's worth of income. You're an award-winning author, certified financial educator. You got all kinds of stuff going on, right? But let's start from the beginning. Where are you originally from? Where were you born and raised? And what kind of student were you coming up?
I was born and raised in North Philadelphia. And those who know about Philly, I kind of don't have to describe it.
Which part of North Philadelphia though? Like, so
Strawberry Mansion section.
Got you. Say less.
Yeah. So I grew up in North Philadelphia. And what kind of student was I? I was the one who was teased for being intelligent. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to stop being smart. I got to stop showing people that I'm smart. And now I just got to be a class clown. And so I kind of turned into the entertainment of the school as I got older. But that's where I started.
Where'd you go to school?
For elementary school, I went to Blaine Elementary, and then I graduated from Strawberry Mansion High School.
Okay, nice. That's what's up. All right, so you said you kind of turned into the class clown. So what happened after high school? What was your path?
After high school, I went to community college. And I graduated from there, and then went to Pierce College. And I studied business law in Pierce College.
Okay, so what was it about business law? Was it like, did you have the plans on eventually becoming an attorney? What were your plans when you decided to take up business law?
So I remember my teacher in third grade had a big old camcorder on his shoulder, and he kind of went around asking everyone what they wanted to be when they grow up, but he was recording us all. And years later, he reminded me that I said on that recording, I wanted to be either an accountant or a lawyer. And I was like, hey, guess what? I went to school for business law and I'm currently an accountant. He was like, oh my goodness, really? He said, he still has the tape. So I was pretty good at numbers. I was good at math, and I was good at arguing people down. So I was like, this is perfect.
All right, nice. So, part of your story is your ability to kind of like you said, you're good with numbers, but you've paid off like over $92,000 in debt. So the first question I have about that is, how'd you run up $92,000 in debt? Was it just student loans, or like, was it other stuff, or what was going on?
So yeah, it was student loans. And at the time I had a brand new car, like in its current year, everything, like it had a brand new car, nice car loan, and it had some credit card debt. So all of that made up that $92,000 of debt that I paid off. So it was a little sprinkle, a little bit of everything. Yeah.
So how did you come, like, what was it that made you change one day and say, okay, now I'm just going to get rid of all this? Like, what was the shift that took you from, so it sounds like you went to college, you got a job, you had some debt. What made you focus and decide to make that what you were eliminating?
I wasn't comfortable. And I feel like we go to work to be comfortable. And I said, was something, what's happening here? And I remember getting a letter in the mail about my student loan payment. And for whatever reason, I had time that day. And I calculated how much interest they were adding to my loan by the month and then by the day. And I was like, this is insane. And I did that for my car loan too. And then I did that for my credit card debt. And I'm like, this is not good. Like it's bad enough I already have to pay them what I don't want to pay them. But now you're going to make me pay you more? That's insane. And I'm like, well, if they're adding more by the day, then if I cut down the days, then I'll pay less at the end. And that was, before I had the whole terminology of compound interest and how that works. I just was like, 1 + 1 is 2. If I cut down days, I'll save money. And that was just kind of like where my journey started when I was younger.
So with that journey though, what kind of sacrifice did you have to make? Because a lot of times people hear that and they say, oh, I gotta live in my car, I gotta eat tuna fish out of cans. Like, that's what people think when they hear that, someone has paid off their debt in a short amount of time. So what kind of sacrifices did you have to make, or what was that time like?
So often when I speak about my journey, I don't use the word sacrifice because I feel like anyone who didn't want to be my friend because I didn't want to go out every Friday night probably shouldn't be my friend anyway, right? And then anyone who didn't understand that I'm not going to go broke for you for Christmas probably shouldn't be on my Christmas list. And so I will say there was a plan that I put in place. There were certain things that I did as far as my freedom plan. And part of that was, okay, I'm going to pack my lunch for work every day. I am not going to eat out at work. I'm going to pack my lunch every day. And I saw that really started to add up. And I'm like, I'm going to put that money, I'm going to save it, or I'm going to put it to debt. And I did like an even split. And all those times I thought I would die without those shoes in the mall. I'm like, I'm still alive. And now here I am with more shoes than I need still, 10 years later. So I don't like to use the word sacrifice. I just feel like I didn't need it anyway. I had my needs. And so those things that were wants when I was 21, 22, 23, like I don't even consider them at this point in my life.
So when people find out that you paid off $92,000 in debt over a short period of time, right? What is like some of the questions that they give you? Like,
well, that number one question you just asked me, like, what did you have to sacrifice? Everybody asked me that. Like, why? Even when I was in the process, a lot of people were like, girl, just enjoy your 20s. Like, everybody has debt. Like, you're never not going to owe somebody. Everybody dies for student loan debt. Like, it's just the norm. Like, people were just like, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. Why would you want to pay off your debt? Like, why would you want to?
Wow.
Everybody's enjoying their 20s. And so that was kind of like things I even had to deal with then, like while I'm going through, like the discouragement from like my community. Like, it was really, really bad. People I admire and looked up to, like, this is insane that you're doing this.
It's interesting, right? You said even your own community looked at you like you were crazy. So what did, I guess going through that journey, what did that teach you about your community?
I think that we just have been so conditioned to believing that things have to be a certain way. It's just the cards are already laid out for us. We are already set to struggle. That is the way the system is designed, and this is what it is. And there is an outline of that we all should follow. And we kind of get a little bit envious of those people who decide to create their own path and not follow the outline. Like, who are you? Who are you to think that you're bold and big enough to do something different than the rest of us? Like, who are you to think that you should follow your dreams? Who are you to think that freedom is for you? We never thought that was a possibility, right? So where you come from saying, and I think what happens is it starts to challenge that particular person's level of comfort and insecurity and boldness, right? Because you can think that you are strong until you stand next to someone who is, right? Or you can think that you are powerful until you step in a room and powerful people, you're like, okay, well, this is a little different level of right? So I think that's really where it comes from.
Interesting. So then you actually went and saved a year's worth of income, right?
Yeah.
So was it still following the same plan, or was it something like, so what made that a goal of yours?
So at first it was just like, I need an emergency fund. Like emergencies are going to happen. Like I just need some type of money saved. And then at the time, it was like, you got to have 3 to 6 months of expenses. And I'm like, okay, all right, I will hear that. I was reading that. I'm like, okay, well, that'll be my goal. And then it became, how much more can I do? Now I'm like challenging myself. Now I'm like doing this internal accountability type thing where I'm like, how much more? Like I did 3 months and I was like, okay, all right. And I did the 6 months and I was like, okay, all right, I can. And I started to, that poverty PTSD started to kick in to the point where it was like, I was hoarding cash. I was like hoarding it. Like I use it as like a badge of honor now. Like, oh, I saved a year's worth of my income in cash. But when you think about it, you really probably shouldn't do that. You really should
talk about that. Talk about that poverty PTSD. Like so that's an interesting phrase. Talk about that.
A pivotal point in my journey was I'm leaving high school graduation day. I'm getting ready for the big reveal with my cream dress on. I'm getting ready to come outside and everyone's outside with the cameras up and waiting. And the water department is cutting our water off. And I was like, this is not, this ain't life, baby. Like, I was like, in my mind, even as a kid, I'm thinking someone is taking something that's very essential from me because I don't have the money to pay for it. And I'm like, never again will I allow myself or my family to be put in a position where someone can take a need, like something that is absolutely positively essential to survive from me or from us because we don't have the money to pay for it. And so now it's like, I'm scared of being broke again. I'm scared of being poor again. And I'm like, as long as I can see the money, it's like the security there. Like I can log in and I can see these numbers after my name. And I know for sure that no one can come and do that to me again, or anyone I love again. And so that's where it was like, it was scared. I was scared about investing or putting money in certain places or doing certain things. Or even once I did, I wasn't poor anymore, being afraid to spend money on certain things, being afraid to take trips. Like, I just like, oh my God, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I don't have enough. And so I struggled with that for a very long period of time of like,
you still struggle with it? Is this something you still battle this day?
So I don't think I battle it that way. No, because I'm not hoarding cash as much as I used to. But I think the turning point for me was I didn't realize I wasn't poor anymore. That poverty, that mindset is so ingrained sometimes in us that we didn't. And I remember a catalog coming to my house. My girlfriend was here and I was like flipping through and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get those sneakers one day. And I kept flipping the page and she was like, did you just say you maybe could get those sneakers one day? I'm like, yeah. And it was like Converse. It was ridiculous. And they had all colors. She was like, you can get every shoe on that, like every color that they have in that store. Like, what is wrong with you? But what happened with me is I had got so used to window shopping and not having the money that my language, like my mind did not comprehend that I wasn't poor anymore. And that day with her was like, it was like an eye opening that I realized like, you're right, I can buy. I didn't even look at the price. Like when she made me flip back, I'm like, you're right, I can buy all of these on this whole page with no problem. And
no, that's an interesting topic. I think people need to actually create content and talk more about that because thank you for being transparent about that. But I think that's interesting because a lot of people struggle with that.
That terminology was everything. Poverty PTSD.
Oh, it's real. There's a certain level of trauma that comes with being poor.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone around you is poor. There's just a certain level. It's just, I
talk about that a lot. Trauma loops, right? Because what you see, and then it don't even take a lot, right? All it takes is one event that reminds you of that, and it'll take you right back to where you were, right? No matter how much money you got, or if something big happens that reminds you of something that happened when you were at that level, it'll take you right back to that level, and you got to really fight against that to not go right back to where you were.
And that's interesting because I wonder if that's something that you can actually pass down to the next generation, right?
Absolutely, 1,000%. Like, that's why I was getting those responses from people that I know and love and admire. They like, getting out of debt. Like, what? Like, yeah, it's the same thing.
No, that's an interesting topic. Poverty, PTSD. I like that. That's an interesting topic, though. But now along your journey, right? So now you're figuring things out. You saved a year's worth of income. Like you said, now looking at it, you're like, maybe I went too far. I went OD. How did you get into investing? Because you're a real estate investor now. We're going to talk about the work you do in the community, but how did you make that shift to say, okay, now I have to start putting this money to work for me?
Yeah, my company I was refusing to put money in the 401k, and then they like kept printing out these little vouchers for me at the end of the year, and they were just letting them pile up. And I was like, okay. And one of the guys sat me down. He was like, at least put minimum in there. They're going to match you. You're giving away free money. Like, you're literally throwing away free money. And I'm like, okay, this is where my investing journey started. I'm going to start putting this money into this 401k, like you said. I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to see what happens with this free money you said I'm giving away. And then it started to work. I'm like, okay, well, this whole investment, I'm like, and then I started to expand to read more about like how investing works and what does this even mean? Because at first I was just putting it in like the general fund that they give everybody, right? And I didn't know what was going on. And I started to do a little bit more digging and really teach myself about like investing, why it's important, and different ways that you can do it. It won't be as risky, because I'm still kind of like struggling with that. Oh, don't take my money from me type of thing. So yeah, that's where the journey started as far as investing. And then I began to kind of build on that. And as you said, now I invest in real estate and a few other things as well.
Okay, so you made the complete shift to an investor, right? From a saver to an investor.
I'm still a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah, you gotta have that emergency fund. All right. So, what made you get into the working with the youth and writing books for the youth? Like, how did that part happen?
I started my company, Missing Peace, PACE Financial Group, where for 7 years now I have been a financial coach for adults. And I started to realize that a lot of my sessions turned into like therapy sessions. They would call it like, oh, I'm gonna sit on your financial couch. And I started doing some research and found out that our financial habits, our relationship with money, is formed by the age of 7. By the time we're gonna get to our double digits, we have this relationship with money, whether it's really good or terrible. And I was like, okay, well, what can we do about this? Because now I'm sitting across from 52-year-olds who are like struggling because of what happened when they were 8, or around money, and they have this terrible these habits that come from it. And so I did some research, just digging and going from bookstore to bookstore, and I was looking for books that was already written to teach kids about these things. And I was going to just use it as a resource for my clients. Like, hey, by the way, if you got kids, I heard about this book. It's really good. And after the 4th bookstore going into it, they didn't have anything. I sat in the parking lot of Barnes and Noble, and I started to scribble on a envelope in my car, Amber's Magical Savings Box. And I had no intention on originally writing a book, but it was just kind of like I was upset, like, why isn't there a thing already out here to teach these kids about this? And so that was February. By March, it was released on Amazon. And by April, it was on the bestsellers list of Amazon. And so that began to open the door for me to be able to, to talk to kids and go into different schools and things like that. So that's really where I stumbled upon, because it wasn't a goal. Okay. I stumbled upon this gift of being able to teach kids about money in a fun, loving way.
Okay, that's amazing. So we got to get you to come to our camp. We do a camp every year for the youth and ages 5 and up. So now that we know that, put it out there on the record.
You booked them.
I've heard about your camp too, and my classes start for ages 3, and it's funny because when I heard about your camp, I'm like, people always say 3 is too young to teach kids about money, and then you have 5-year-olds in there. So yeah.
Okay, nice. So those are the things that you're currently working on. What does the future look like for you? What are some of the things that you want to work on in the future?
And well, so far my curriculum for kids and my finance classes have been in over 75 schools and organizations and even universities. And I did that all by myself, like one-man show. So although I didn't know that was a possibility, now I'm reaching for that 100 mark. I actually signed 2 new contracts this morning. So that is my next goal, reaching that 100 mark, to be able to teach as many kids as possible. And beyond that, of course, continue to serve my community in this way, but just bigger and better ways.
Oh,
So y'all stay tuned.
listen,
Stay
you're
tuned.
doing it. You're doing it. So, so you've actually talked about, the PTSD that comes with growing up poor. Is that the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome, or what would you say is the biggest hurdle? Would it be that, or is it something else?
I think for all of us, it's self-worth,
Okay, talk about it.
because you can make all the money you want, and we've seen this replay in history over and over again of people who at one point in time had a whole lot of money, right, and they had this incredible gift or whatever it is, and they've lost it all. They found a way to sabotage it all, and all that works comes down to your worth, right? Because we've also seen the underdog come up, and it's because they believed that they deserved more. They believed that they were worth more, and they just did not stop until they got it. And so I think for me and for a lot of people that I have had the privilege to serve in these 7 years, it's really just changing the mindset of, and changing your heart and changing your spirit about how much you feel like, freedom is for you. You are worthy of abundance. You are worthy of the peace that comes with having certain things in order. And because I don't think that personal finance is a math problem. I think we all know how to add, subtract, multiply, right? It's really heart, mind, spirit that will help you to get to where you want to be once change those lenses that you are using. So self-worth is going to be number one thing.
Mhm. Man,
Number
that's
one.
amazing. All right, so I had another question. I know Corey, you had a question too. Let me ask you this though. So now you've made this transformation, right? You're out here helping the community, you're doing things. Um, how is it when? And this is a question. I'm probably asking this for myself, but I know someone else is asking. Um, your family and friends, right, who may not have went along that journey with you. What is that like? Has it changed your relationship with your family and friends because you're on this other path and And I'm pretty sure I know that you try to help them, but I know where you're from. We're from the same community, so I get it. So how is that?
Yeah, it's really funny because no, they're the total opposite of me. All of them. um and it's like, oh, we're not going to invite Rachel to this or that because we don't want her to like preach about like how we're spending our money, and we don't want so it's like I don't get invited to things. By the way, I do not tell people what not to buy, because who am I got 100 pairs of shoes. Who am I to tell you what not to buy? But I'm not the judge. I'm just the help. I'm not the judge. So yeah, that I'm like, why I didn't get invited to such and such, So that
Mhm.
happens. But yeah, all of my family and friends are the total opposite of me. I mean, they are not, and I say things over and over again, and they're like, "What is a Roth IRA?" I'm like, "Are y'all kidding me right now? I've been talking about Roth IRAs for for 10 years."
Okay, so all right, and maybe that was a personal question because I'm not alone. Then you feel me then. All right, got you. So, Corey, what is your question, bro? You
I
muted
was
for
just
me.
going. No, I was going to say that we're coming from a similar lens, maybe a little bit different lens, because I believe that social problems are actually financial problems with social ramifications. And um, it, when I hear your the way that you come at it, I think you know I like your approach to it, though. You know what I mean? Even though I feel on the opposite side, I understand your approach and I understand why you take that approach to give me. So I really like your approach toward getting people into into the space and into the right headspace to make those financial gains. And so I wanted to commend you on your approach, because I don't have it in me. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, like yo, like if you don't want to get it together, then suffer. You know what I mean? Like, look, you gotta put the time in. It's like everything else. Anything you want to be good at, you gotta put time into, and that includes getting your personal finances together.
I know, but
So
see, it's difficult though, right? When you come from certain environments, like and I was just telling my wife this. I said, sometimes I feel like I care about our people more than they care about themselves, right?
and that's 100% fact.
So it's a struggle, right? But that's why I asked that question. Now I know someone else can relate to what I'm saying.
Often the people you are willing to die for are the ones that are killing you.
Ooh,
I posted on my Facebook not too long ago. Don't let the people you're willing to die for kill you. So it's like we're fighting this battle, and it's like the people we're fighting for are the same people we're fighting with, and ain't nobody got time for that. So it's kind of like I just let people know, like, I'm here if you need help, but it's nothing I can do for you if you don't want help. Like I can have all the information, but if there's literally nothing that I can do for you if you're not open and willing and ready to receive it. And so I let everyone know that is always going to be my approach. There are some times I open up a class and say, is everybody open and willing and ready to receive what I'm about to say? Because other than that, like, I don't care how much you pay me to be here. This is a waste of my time. And so, yeah, you got to be mindful of that.
Oh man, that's a bar right there.
Yeah.
All right, so I got one more question from you, right? So you are an author, so I like asking authors this as well. What's a book that's inspired you, or a couple of books that you would consider your favorite book, or something that inspired you along your journey?
We're all, you mentioned earlier the oh my God, we talked about this earlier.
I mean, there's so many books, right?
But I know. So I like The Psychology of Money, which kind of like digs into what we were just talking about. Yeah. I like The Psychology of Money. Let me see another one I got here. We Should All Be Millionaires. Rachel Rogers. Yes. Like, I know her name is Rachel.
That came out recently, within the last.
That's recent. Years, right? I think it came out during the pandemic. I really loved that book. Yeah, I really love that book. Actually, a lot of the money books, quote unquote, books that have changed my viewpoint on money really have nothing to do with money. It's just more so like what I was saying about like changing your heart, changing your mind.
What's an example of that? What's an example of something that's not necessarily a money book, but it helped you in your journey?
So I will say, and this is new too, Tabitha Brown's book called Feeding the Soul. Yes. She's really like opening it up about like gratitude and affirmation, and all of that is just like the groundwork of what we were saying earlier, like worthiness, right? And being kind. Like I think a lot of people quote the scripture of like your gift will make room for you, but like you think your gift is your talent, but like your gift is your kindness. Your gift is like how you treat people. Your gift is, you know what I mean? Like those things, that's what's going to get you in that room. That's what's going to get you those relationships. And so although the book has nothing to do with necessarily money, it has helped me to be able to use those principles and things to help other people to be able to on their road to financial freedom, whatever that may look like for them.
Listen, I understand that. There's several books that aren't about money that, I hold in high regard in terms of learning about money, right? One of my favorite books of all time about money, which is really not about money, is like The Coldest Winter Ever. And I could actually do a whole show explaining how that has to do with money, but I'll say that for another time.
I feel that way about The Alchemist.
Oh, okay. That's another one. That book's
that way about that book.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, man. So Corey, you got anything before we get out of here, man? This has been an amazing.
Yeah,
now I'm in my head down thinking about this whole.
I'm reading books about stoicism, and y'all reading all kinds of. See, my thing is because for me, right? It's I have a hard time reining it. My face will show my emotions even if my demeanor won't, and so I have to figure out ways to rein in that energy, and so. If people who know me know that what that means, right? Because I really be at people's face and at people's neck.
No, I mean a lot of people struggle with that. Like you can't hide your emotion. Your face tells it all.
It tells everything. Even if my body and my mind is like leave it alone, my face was like no, let's really go at that. But so I hearing about these books, I've read some of those books, but like I don't take this, like maybe it's because of the way my life is crazy. I didn't take the same things away from those books.
Well, no, that's the great thing about reading though, right? We can all read the same book and take something different from it. That's the power to me of reading, right? That's why I like to get people's perspective on books, because sometimes someone will read the same book as you and tell you what they thought about it, and you say, wow, I never thought about that. So
yeah. So I was like, damn, I read that. I ain't come up, nothing in that book said.
No, listen, Coldest Winter Ever really is not a money book, right? It's
I was like, I know I read that.
But here's the thing, though, right? I'm gonna tell you why that's a powerful book, and this has nothing to do with this whole conversation. But it made me want to read more, right?
Okay.
So coming up in school, when you get, Shakespearean things that have no cultural relevance to me, I didn't really care. The only book I liked as a kid probably was Animal Farm. I loved Animal Farm. Outside of that, half of the books that were given to me in school, I didn't care for them. When I read that, it opened my mind up like, hold up, I can actually, now that I'm not being forced to read, I can go find things that interest me. And I can find people that talk like me that are teaching about things that interest me. So that's why I say that was a shift for me. Man, anyway, with that being said, though, Rachel, listen, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very inspiring. And now you got me wanting to think about this poverty PTSD now, because you say it now, I see it in like a lot of people now. So
yeah, we come back and we talk about it, because I've definitely done some digging on that for a while now. So yeah, we come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we definitely want to holler at you about speaking to the babies, man, because that's very important. And first of all, another thing I want to say is congratulations on everything you got going on. The best-selling book, getting out of debt, saving it, all that stuff is amazing. Amazing story. You're living a movie right now, so congratulations.
It's definitely like, I wanted to be an example for the young people of like what's possible. One of the main things that I hear when I travel and talk to kids is that they don't want money because people with money who are bad people. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. A bad reason for a kid to say like, I don't want money because all the people with money there are bad. And so I've been on a mission to not only be a good person with good money, but to help a lot of good people get some good money. So I appreciate your support on this journey.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. And we're going to share everything that you got going on within the description box, or the show notes. We'll put, links to her social media, as well as their books and everything like that. So make sure you guys check out everything that Rachael does, everything she has going on, and reach out to her. Maybe she can come talk to your kids, or get in your university. Right. So, but congratulations, man. Corey, you got the last words, bro?
Nah, she's wonderful. I love her approach toward everything. So, and I told her that. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to say that.
Absolutely, man. So listen, to our audience out there, as we always say, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we shall see you guys in our next episode. Peace.